Hey, so I picked up some J bends and some U bends. These are mandrel bent tubing pieces, and I'm going to cut these into all kinds of different lengths, and I'll be able to build my exhaust system here for the sandrail project in a future video. But so today's project, we're going to have a look at this electric supercharger, brand new in the box, never been installed. So I really doubt the claims of added horsepower that come along with an electric supercharger like this. There was a guy on YouTube, he dyno tested his car with and without an electric supercharger, and it actually made less power after he installed it. And that's I believe that's primarily because it's in the way. It can't move enough air, and it's just like a restriction. And so let's get this thing on the workbench and do some testing. So 12 volt, and on the inside you can see that plastic squirrel cage fan right in there. So here's the first clue that this thing probably is not going to be able to do much. Look at the size of these wires. So 12 volt requires a pretty good wire or a cable to operate a motor that does a lot of work, like this starter, for example. Like when you look at the cables under the hood of your car, 12 volt, it just can't carry a lot of amperage in a small wire, so that's why you've got those big cables under the hood of your car. So have a look. We're going to compare this wire to a known 16 gauge wire that I have, and you can see how small that wire is. So I think in the ad it was talking about this thing would make 5 or 6 horsepower and better fuel mileage and yada yada. So this thing is starting to look like a leaf blower, and I'm going to make an elaborate kind of a snake shape here out of all this tubing. And I'm going to put, you can see, I got this one here. I got a fitting right in there, and I'm going to put a fuel pressure gauge on the end. Man, that is a nice shirt. So this is the gauge I want to use. And it's really a fuel pressure gauge, but if I put some pressure on the end, you can see I can move it, so it'll substitute as an air pressure gauge here too for like low pressure. So I glued all the fittings, well, with the exception of this one here. I just duct taped it on there, and gauge is on there, and little fitting is right there. So it's starting to look like some sort of a funky spud gun or maybe a leaf blower. But what do you guys think? Let's fire this thing up. This is the power source that I'm going to use, a shop-sized battery charger. And I'm going to be using it here on high start. Okay, you guys ready for the big show? Let's fire this thing up. So it does create a little bit of a workload to move air around corners. So that's why I created this S shape here, and it simulates a little bit what it is like in a manifold, because they're not perfectly straight either, not as curved as this one. But check this out. So I'm going to plug up this end here while the blower is running, and you're going to hear the difference in the motor, like the workload, and then look at the gauge. Nothing. And so now watch this. I'll put a rag just to give you an idea how much air is actually coming out of this thing. Okay, it can't even blow that rag away. You can see it a little bit on the rag. If I hold it like this, then it might move the rag a little bit. You know, like come on. You know, it's about what I expected. So the whole idea on a supercharger is to force the air into the engine more so than what just atmospheric pressure can do. And apparently this one is just not going to do it.
To get these cars prepped ready to do this kind of a high powered task. Okay. You do have to make sure it's all in the right places. Can you imagine if you blew one of those in? pass by Scott McVeigh.